Welcome everyone to my garden. I am Toby Gant and I am a holistic soul coach. I like to help people align with their truth, their path, and live out their purposes and passions. And this is...
I'm Terry Herman, and I have the privilege of hanging out with Toby from time to time. And Toby's been amazing and has helped me on my journey. And so I'm delighted to be here and hang out with him again today.
And Terry, you have a very powerful, unique story to share. It's a story I don't even know all the details of, but what I know of it, I am extremely inspired by. And every time you share your story, it helps change people's perspectives in their lives for the better. So I wanted to just start off by asking, well, long story short, you had a major years-long illness that popped up in your life.
Yeah.
But could you tell us, before that illness came and changed everything, tell us a little bit about what your life was like. Who were you? What was your identity?
Okay, yeah. Well, life was good. I mean, I had a good career. My wife had a good career. Our family was healthy. Things were great. We were kind of like living the American dream, if you will. You know, we had our forever home that we had just purchased. We were driving the cars of choice, and you had a nice home too. It sounds like it was nice. Yeah, we were
pool
blessed.
In the backyard.
Yep, it was all good. Wow. Yeah, it was good. Yeah, and the kids were all busy. We raised 5 boys, and so there was never a dull moment. But we were enjoying life. Things were going well, and it was fun. And we were a busy family, but we were a fun family. We were having a great time.
And what kind of work did you do?
I was in sales. And towards the end of my career, I was more in a management VP role. So, but my entire life was around sales, a small manufacturing firm in Southern California. And, it provided a good income. We got the boys through college and did well. So I enjoyed it.
Wow. So that really was the epitome of the American dream.
Yeah, it really was.
I mean, completely.
Yeah.
So tell us about what happened when you got sick. How did it show up?
I started noticing extreme fatigue, started struggling with my memory, was really having a hard time retaining any kind of thought. It started to manifest itself in more of putting a sentence together. And then I noticed some twitching and some shaking externally, started in my hands, and it became difficult wasn't very long, it became difficult for me to even write my name. And so these are the things that kind of started to take place, and it just kind of, from that point on, there was just a snowball effect of a lot of different kinds of things that started taking place physically in my body.
And what were you diagnosed with?
Well, I had several, ultimately after a long and painful process of doctors and specialists and neurologists and all these guys who I was so appreciative of in helping me in my journey. But along the way, there was a lot of things that they couldn't diagnose. They weren't able to. They struggled with labeling it. But a lot of the things that I had fell under the autoimmune and under the neurological umbrella. And so ultimately, I was diagnosed with Parkinson's. And then just a lot of autoimmune. I had like the Hashimoto's, which is a thyroid disease. And there were several others that fell under one of those 2 categories that I began to struggle with.
Wow. And so, at any point during this whole process, did it ever seem like it was less about a diagnosis than maybe life lessons embedded in the illness?
I would say after several years of journeying, yes, that's true. I got to a point where my wife and I, Vicki and I, really started to kind of evaluate where we were at, what we were going through, and what the future may hold. I mean, what what is it that was most important during this season? And for me, it did get to a point. I mean, for a long time, it was just a matter of I was just struggling with surviving. I mean, I was like, every day seemed like it presented some new challenges, and every day became more difficult. You know, there was like 18 months of rehab, just kind of learning how to regain motor skills and walking again. So there was those, during that season, it was like, what's going to happen to me? Where am I going? What's going on? So until I got through that season and I could really entertain any kind of thinking beyond that, the first thing that did come up in terms of a life lesson was, what am I going to model to my family? I mentioned we raised 5 boys.
Wow.
Today there's 5 boys, 3 daughter-in-laws, and 6 grandchildren. So for me at that time, it really became important for me, what kind of behavior am I going to model? I mean, we held to some principles in life that were important to us as a family, and some belief systems that were important to us as a family. And so how was Dad and father-in-law and Papa going to react? What kinds of behavior was he going to model? And behavior, what I mean is, am I going to throw my hands up in the air and say, woe is me, all is lost? Or are we going to forge ahead and try to embrace where we were at and discover new ways of life? Or what was it that I could do that would demonstrate to them that this wasn't the end? And so that became very important to me. And I began kind of just sending out little emails to the family every Monday. And after a while, I just kind of called it Dad's Heart, because I didn't know what else to do with it. And I just said, so I just would always label it Dad's Heart. And every Monday, I would send them something that would encourage them. I would share part of my journey. I would share part of my emotions. I would share part of what was going on, mentally. I would share what I was struggling with in the moment or that day. And then what I was going to do to deal with it, how I was going to embrace it. What could I do to move forward from where I was at and to grow from it? And I began sharing those things with the family on a weekly basis every Monday. So as a family, we were able to grow and journey together, and I didn't isolate myself from them. I felt that was really important. So those were some things that were really important to me right out of the gate. Before I really began to work on myself and some of the things that I didn't even know I was going to be facing later on in my healing process.
And when you went through this, at what point, how long did it take from the time you started noticing symptoms until you were no longer able to work? Do you remember how long that was approximately?
Yeah, it was quick. I mean, it happened fast.
Wow.
It was... I got sick, and that was it.
Okay.
I mean, I never recovered. I never went back to work. I wasn't capable of going back to work, and so it was immediate. I mean, that started right away, and it's been the part of the journey ever since.
I want to ask, before you got sick, was a part of your identity found in your work?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I know that's probably something I shouldn't necessarily, you want to confess or admit to, but yeah, it was. I think, as a man specifically, we're driven. We want to be providers. We want to provide well. With a large family, I was, always driven to provide well and give them the very best opportunity for success that I could. So yeah, we wanted to live well. I had some dreams, hopes, and aspirations for all of us. And so working hard was never an option. It really was never a problem either, just kind of the way I was raised. And so, I would definitely say that my career was my identity. I mean, it's who I was, it's what I did, it was what I was all about, it's how I provided, it's how we achieved our goals in life and gave the kids the best opportunity, like I said, for success down the road as they got older. So yeah, I was very driven, and it was very much a part of me.
What did that do to your sense of self-worth and identity to no longer be able to work anymore and to be the provider?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I think initially it was a battle just to survive, so I wasn't able to even process or think about that. Once I started to regain some health and regain the ability to begin to think and to put some thoughts together and realize where I was at and what had just happened and what it was going to mean for me for the rest of my life, it got scary. One of my biggest struggles, I had two different parts of my journey. The first part is just to get healthy. So it was the physical aspect. Once I overcame and was able to regain a lot of that, and which I have, it's been 8 years, but today I'm back on the golf course and some good things are happening. So that's an indicator of coming a long, long way. But what I didn't plan for, Toby, was after that, the emotional and the mental challenges that I would have with what I had gone through. And one of my first things that I struggled with the most was my self-worth, my value to the family. Even though I was healthy and things were getting much better, I still wasn't able to go back and hold down a career again, or even really a good paying job. So immediately I began to wonder, what's my value? What do I add to this family? I mean, what's my value to my wife and to my children anymore? I really struggled with value and what I had to offer to the family. And that was a huge battle. That was as significant as my physical recovery process, I felt. And it's taken about a year for me to really get a grasp on that and really begin to work through it and just kind of unpack what all that stuff looked like and meant, so that I could get to a place where I feel like I still have value as a man. I still can add value in my marriage and as a father and as a grandfather. So it's a work in progress, but I'm way beyond where I was. But it was a huge battle in between the years, for sure.
Well, and I want to come back around to your emergence from the difficulty and the victories and the triumphs. But I think the loss and the challenge is a very relatable part of your story. So tell me what all you lost in this. Besides your job, what all, in terms of identity, material possessions, etc., did you lose throughout this journey?
Yeah, well, as far as the material, we pretty much lost everything. You work all your life, and you work hard, and you press on, and you achieve, and you acquire, and then just like overnight, it's gone. We lost our forever home. Obviously, we no longer drove the cars of choice. All of the benefits of the housekeepers, the gardeners. I mean, all those fun things that at some point in life you enjoy. So yeah, and then the debt began to increase, as you might imagine, because when you lose a significant salary, and then the debt continues to increase, which it did, and then on top of that, just the debt from lifestyle, from trying to make it from day to day and raising 5 kids. But then you've got all the medical bills that started to pile up, and that was horrendous. Those were well over $100,000, and well over that. And so now you've got that compounding all the loss, but then you've got this that you're gaining, which is this horrendous debt and medical bills. So those were the two things that happened rather quickly, if you will.
Do you mind if I ask, was there ever a point where you thought your family would be better off without you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, once I started kind of regaining some health and could actually, think again, because I know it's hard for maybe for some folks to understand, but when you're going through some of these autoimmune and these neurological issues, I really lost my ability to process for a season and to put a thought together, hold a thought, and then actually communicate it in a sentence, I couldn't do it. So once I got to a point where I was able to do that again, yeah, you're sitting at home, your wife is hard at work, now the sole provider for the family. The kids are off at school, or some of them were later in life, so they're off and married, and they're working hard and doing their thing. So yeah, you're sitting there and you're wondering, I have nothing to offer, nothing. And so to come to that realization that I no longer have anything to offer, and I don't know that I'll ever have anything to offer again in terms of providing, in terms of helping pay down the debt, in terms of getting back to the way life was overwhelming. And there was a season where, and not because of my wife at all or the kids at all, but I feared losing her. I feared the kids just kind of abandoning, not because of who they were, because they never did. They never even came close to that. It was my own stuff. It was my own, emotions and thought process that I was battling. So they never did anything to instill that fear in me or to make me think that it was all on me. It was because I was at that point so insecure as a man and so not knowing what was ahead of me that I feared that. I feared that, and there was statistics out there that said when one spouse goes down like that, that there's a large majority of marriages that don't last. Mm-hmm. And so that kind of loomed in the back of my mind. And so, yeah, there was a lot of fear. Yeah.
Do you feel that when you were in that fear state, any of your behavior may have pushed your closest loved ones away in a sense? Even if they were trying to connect?
I think perhaps with Vicky, with my wife, and not so much with the kids, because that was really important to me that I tried not to be fake or I've always been one that's been really big on being authentic with one another and truthful. But I felt like not so much with them, although I did go silent for a season, and there was a time when my oldest son, it shared a little bit of frustration with me because he felt like I was pushing him away. I wasn't necessarily pushing him away. I just kind of went silent. I stopped doing the Dad's Heart, the Monday emails. I just kind of insulated myself a little bit, if you will. Mm-hmm. And so I know that he felt like there was a time where I was kind of pushing him away and shutting down, and he shared that with me, and we worked through that together. But I do know that with Vicky I did, because I just felt like part of me, part of me didn't feel like it was fair to her. And so because of that, I was like, I didn't know what to do. Here's this lady that just stuck by me through thick and thin for years, lost everything, kept working diligently and being the professional that she is, and being the mother of the boys and the grandmother and, all of that and all those relationships, and worked so hard to care for me. I started feeling guilty. I started feeling like she deserves way better than this. And so, yeah, that's when that chatterbox in my mind started getting the better part of me.
Did you feel alone with that chatterbox in your mind a lot?
Yeah, I did, because I was afraid to share it. Mm-hmm. And again, I felt like, I put this family through so much, and now all my emotions, I'm going to start barfing out on them. So, yeah, I kept a lot of that to myself. I tried to, I tried to hide it, and I tried to just say, I got to get through this on my own. I can't be barfing this all over everybody. They've gone through enough. So yeah, I did.
And I wanted to ask you, when you tell your story, having so much in terms of success in the American dream, having a family, a large family, having abundance, and then going to losing almost everything. It sounds so much like the story of Job in the Bible is what it reminds me of. Do you feel that, did you ever think that you were like Job? Did you ever compare yourself to Job?
Yeah, that's really a good question. Yeah, I did. In terms of the Job story being one of loss. Yeah, because if you read the account in the Bible, if you were to read it, you'll notice that, you know, Job lost his possessions. He lost his relationships. And then
his health.
And then later on, he lost his health.
Yeah.
So he lost all three. And so I was able to, in fact, I've even been known to say that, you know, that I'm so thankful and so glad to be out of the Job season that I was in. And again, not to think that I'm equate myself with Job, but just simply in relating to it as a season of loss and identifying with his season of loss in his life and the journey it took him on, and the season of loss that I experienced and the journey it took me on. And then once you recognize that you've come out of that season, to fully believe it and embrace it, and because in that season, that Job season, you develop a poverty mentality, and you don't ever see yourself gaining or regaining. That, you know, his account ends where, you know, it was restored unto him beyond what he even had. And so I'm kind of hoping that my story ends the same way. And to be honest with you, it kind of is right now.
You're on track
with some of the things that are happening in our lives. Yeah. So it's I totally could identify with it, and it's kind of a evolving as part of my story that I think is an important part.
When you read that story, it does highlight some of the emotions he felt. And what would you say were the strongest, difficult emotions that you had to deal with in your darkest hours?
Abandonment.
Okay.
I felt like I never ever, and I honestly can say this, I never got angry at God.
Okay.
I never lashed out at him. I never was like, why me? I never went there. But I did feel a sense of abandonment. I felt there was a season where perhaps I felt like God had abandoned me. I didn't necessarily go through the same process that Job went through. You know, what have I done? What sin have I committed? You know, am I being punished for something? I mean, if you read the account, those are the things, when Job entered into the conversations with his friends, those were the things that they discussed. I never got there, but I did feel a sense of abandonment. I did feel like God went quiet on me. He went silent on me. And so I wrestled with that a little bit, yeah. Yeah, because my relationship with him was always really important. And I felt very strong about that. And so not hearing his voice, not hearing him speak into my life was kind of weird. Got kind of scary.
And then let's talk about the healing and the journey to recovering, the journey to restoration, which you're completely on. As just with Job, I don't remember how many times it said it was like tenfold. Everything came back tenfold abundance. But let's talk about that journey you've been on. What was a turning point for you where would you say that it actually started to climb up, even if it seemed slow?
Yeah, I think it was my wife's determination. We spent a 7 days at the Mayo Clinic in Scottsdale, where I spent 8 hours a day literally undergoing tests as part of, you know, my journey there when getting well. And what I didn't know at the time is that they have an extensive medical library downstairs. And when I was being tested, Vicki would go down there, and they had trained professionals there in the library that helped her learn how to research and study. And she's always been somewhat of a researcher. She loves the higher education, the academia world, so she's always embraced that. So she began this journey of research that at the time I wasn't necessarily aware of. I was still kind of in my own zone, trying to figure out, how to get out of bed and walk to the bathroom by myself. So I wasn't fully there yet. But she began doing this intense research and studying and really thinking outside the box. Because at this point in time, Western medicine was working really hard in my, on my behalf. I was on over 25 different meds, and my quality of life wasn't really improving. It was going down, primarily because of all of the interactions with all the medications. Vicki made the decision one night that this wasn't acceptable any longer. There had to be a better way, and that this wasn't going to be the end. And so in her research, she discovered that one of the very first things they do in Europe with those who are have been diagnosed with Parkinson's is they take them off of gluten. Wow. It's the very first thing they do. So she began studying that whole world of food, and from their perspective. And so the very first thing we did was we changed the way we ate. And over a 6-month period of time, we started noticing some really subtle little changes in my health and in my behavior, and they were positive. And so that was the first step. And so because of that, we really went and dove off into the deep end with that and made radical changes. And because of that, we began to see bigger steps in terms of my improvement. So that was the first thing we did. And that was the first time we both looked at each other and said, this is working. Question mark, is it? But it was. And so that was the first big step we took. And, I remember her saying, just be open to it. And I said, at this point, I'm open to anything. So we went back to our doctors, our medical team, and we said, listen, this is what we've researched and what we've discovered and what we've been doing, and we're seeing this, this, and this. So we'd like to see if we couldn't get him off of these meds to start with. And so we began that painful process, and it was painful. It was a long, slow, painful process because a lot of the drugs were really, really nasty. And coming off of some of that stuff was really hard on my body. And so, but we began that process. And so that was the beginning of realizing, wow, there's an alternative here that there may be something to this. And so that was the first step.
And then before you went through all this illness, how would you have viewed a holistic or a nutritional approach to healing?
Wouldn't even have considered it. I mean, didn't really. I can remember a friend of mine whose husband was going through some illness, and she had mentioned to me when I first got sick that, I've done some research and changed my husband's diet, and we're noticing some improvements. Maybe you would want to consider that. And I remember it literally going in one ear and out the other, thinking, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard. I got some really serious stuff here, and food's going to change that? And little did I know that, all the junk that's in our food today has a direct impact on autoimmune and neurological issues in many of our bodies, and it did. So that was a significant change, and now I have fully embraced it, and I'll never go back.
Beyond food, what have you done to continue your healing and recovery process?
Well, there's a couple other things that we did, again, through my wife's diligence and her persistence and her research. The next thing we did is we because of all the toxins and all the pesticides and all the junk in the food that's impacting us, the next thing we did was, because of the specific illnesses that I had and how it was impacting the body, we went ahead and became a toxic-free home, because the toxins directly impact, had a direct impact on everything that I had going on in my body. So we felt it necessary to eliminate all of that. So that was the next thing we did. Along the way, kind of while we're doing all those, she began researching the the use of essential oils and supplements, and so that sparked an interest in me as well, because I'd never thought of that as being, something that would work.
Nor would you have been open to it in the past.
No, I would have thought. In fact, I can remember when she first came to me with that, I was like, I think I made some stupid comment like, what are you, a witch doctor now, or something stupid like that, But I mean, I was teasing, but I wasn't. So she began doing some extensive research on the essential oils, but not only just the use of essential oils, but then what is the best? Because if we're going to try this and do this, I want the very best. I want, so in her studies, and again, in her studies, we became a part of the Young Living family, and it's been amazing. And so we've fully embraced the use of the Young Living essential oils, the supplements, on a regular basis. And because of that, and then the other things that we've done with, the food and with the toxic-free home, but really the Young Living, the essential oils, and the supplements that I take on a daily basis, it's a lifestyle. It's not just a casual use. It has become a lifestyle of mine every day, new habits. Because of that, it took a full year, but I have been weaned off of every med, and I'm no longer on any medication.
Wow.
And I did that with
from 25 medications.
From 25. But I did that with the help of our doctors, our medical team. We went to them and said, here's what we're doing. Here's why we're doing it. Here's what our researchers taught us and showing us. This is what we choose to do. Will you help us and help me get off of this? And they did.
So you did find some willingness on behalf. That's really a blessing.
Yeah.
Not everyone would necessarily encounter that with Western medicine.
No. And so we've really embraced the holistic approach, and it's just a new way of life for us.
Can you tell me the very first essential oil or supplement that you could notice a difference with?
Oh man, what did she do? She started with oh man, you got me. I can't remember the one she started me on.
Or if you can tell us at least the effects and how you started to notice a difference.
Yeah, it was, oh man, I'm embarrassed that I can't tell you what it was.
That's okay.
There's so many I use, and there's so many combinations and variables. I have this huge list at home that I refer to all the time because I still struggle a little bit with my memory, so I don't easily remember everything. But the ones that we initially started with had to do with the neurological issues, the shaking, and the...
So you had full-on tremors.
Yeah.
Terry, I've never seen you with a tremor.
Yeah,
that's a miracle.
Yeah, and the inner shaking. I still battle a little bit of the inner inside my body. It happens when I get really tired if I don't pace myself and take care of my body. So these oils that she initially started with addressed that to get my body to calm down and to settle down. But yeah, the tremors are gone. They're 100% gone. So yeah. So we started with that, and then she started with, after that we started working on some of the autoimmune, some of the things with my thyroid and some of those things, the fatigue. So we started on some of those. And then when we got off of the meds, she started researching a lot of the supplements, and today I do, gosh, I can't even tell you how many supplements, a lot, to take the place to help my body regain and to kind of do a reset. And so...
but when you're on supplements and using essential oils, are you having the side effects and the interactions that you had with prescriptions?
None. Zero. And that's what I love about them, is that there are no side effects. I mean, they're pure. They're 100% oil. There's no synthetic additives. There's nothing that man has done to contaminate these oils. They're natural. It's if you will, I don't want to offend anybody, but it's God's medicine. I mean, it's the way He designed for our bodies to be whole and to experience healing is through these natural essential oils that He created. And so, no, zero side effects whatsoever.
Wow.
None.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it feels pretty good.
Now, let me ask you this. Through this process, through this journey, this healing, this recovery, how do you see your identity differently now? And how would you define yourself now?
Well, I'm definitely a different person. My identity is no longer in my career or what I do. My identity now is really, truly, who I am. I'm a guy that was broken. Actually, I was beyond broken. I've viewed my life now as it wasn't broken, it was shattered. And so, but through that...
Tell us the difference.
Well, broken, when something's broken, you can fix it. And I was always kind of that kind of guy where if something was broken in the family, I could fix it. I was a fix-it guy. I'll fix that. I can fix your finances. Yeah, I can help you fix that. That's what I do. But when you're shattered, there's nothing to fix. So the difference is broken you can fix, shattered you can't fix. You have to replace or rebuild. And so what I soon recognized, and which was really like 1,000,000 pounds lifted off my shoulders, was I kind of get a do-over. I kind of get an opportunity to rebuild something completely different, brand new, and experience life like I never would have anticipated or expected before. And so today my identity isn't in what I do, but it's really who I am. And that's a guy now that's experienced some tremendous healing, has a story to tell. Hopefully he can help somebody else. And it's really now all about sharing this with other people. And that's kind of what I do now. I just share my story. I share, these little oils and these supplements, and I share diet, and I share toxic free, and I say, hey, have you considered? And just help people and coach them through it. So my identity now is I'm just a guy loving life that's been blessed with a great family, and my goal and mission in life is to help as many people as I can.
Well, it's interesting because it sounds like in your previous career it was very focused on numbers and quantities as well. And it sounds like now you don't assign value to your life and your identity in terms of numbers or quantities.
No.
But
No.
it doesn't even matter how many people you reach or share with.
No.
It's more about the energy of connection and loving on people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, before it was always about you got a strategy, now you need an implementation, and along the way how you're going to measure your results. Now it's just getting up each day, and I take a walk to the beach every day, and I do all my supplements and all the stuff I do throughout the day with my new habits in life, and it's really about who can I connect with. Who's going to come into my life today that I can impact, that I can love on unconditionally, and that I can perhaps make a difference. And that's really where I'm at. So I'm driving a 10-year-old Nissan Sentra, and I'm okay with that. 10 years ago I wouldn't have been okay with that. But today I'm okay with that. It doesn't matter. We're leasing a place, and it's a small little place, but it's a blessing because I go out on the deck at night and I sit on my deck and I'm overlooking this beautiful golf course, and at the end of the golf course there's the ocean. And It's like I'm living like a millionaire. I'm enjoying the benefits of those $1,000,000 homes around me.
Well, and previously you were the Forever Home was in the foothills,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
So the air quality there. Do you feel that here in Southern California the coastal breezes push all that toxin in the air right up against the foothills?
Well, that was kind of one of the main reasons why we always wanted to eventually retire at the beach because we just love it. But we pulled the trigger earlier because we felt like one of the things that we needed to do was get to the beach for the air quality, not only for me, but for Vicky, who struggled with some severe asthma issues, and now she hasn't had an asthma issue for years since we've been down here. And again, it's because of lifestyle, it's because of the changes. But so for both of us, it was necessary, and we felt like it was kind of the final step. It was the final thing we needed to do. And so we pulled the trigger early, and we're blessed, and we're just enjoying it now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now let me ask you, because so many times men feel like being as the sole provider or the main provider for the family, they have this role and responsibility. And throughout your journey to healing, abundance has come to you and Vicki and your family through sharing the holistic lifestyle.
Yes, it has.
And in some ways, some of that was spearheaded by Vicki and
Yes.
her initial efforts.
Yep.
How have you reconciled that with your new identity and versus your old identity? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, now, like I said at first, when I first began processing my emotions, it was a huge deal, because I hadn't been able to unpack all that stuff yet and deal with the now in my life. But where I'm at today, with the help from a lot of good people and from you, I've been able to unpack a lot of that emotional stuff. And so for me today, I'm having fun. I mean, I'm enjoying my new role. I really am. It took me a little while, but now I've kind of got a handle on it, and I'm loving it. I mean, Vicki's one of the reasons why I married Vicki was because she didn't necessarily need me. She wanted to be with me, and she's a bright, smart, intelligent young lady, and that was what I was one of the things that I was attracted to. So to be able to really embrace that now is fun, because she's an entrepreneur in her spirit, and she's done an amazing job thinking outside the box. And one of the things that we have done in sharing our new lifestyle is through Young Living, and I don't want to make this like an advertisement or anything, but it's part of my story. There's the business side that we didn't know about. We had no idea. We just embraced it for the health purposes. But then once we got into it, we realized there's a business side to this thing. So Vicki really began to, again, research and explore, and came back and said, you know what, I think we have an opportunity here, and this may be a God thing in our lives to regain, what we lost and to pay down debt. And so I'm like, okay, what do I do? Show me. And so she started working it, and I just, tried to support the best I could. And to be honest with you, today, in just not even quite 3 years, we've paid down $100,000 worth of medical bills, and the rest of our debt, literally, as of this last week, I shared it with Vicki, and we kind of celebrated, did the happy dance. I'm not embarrassed to tell anybody, we're down to $12,000 of total debt.
My gosh.
That happened because of the business side.
From way over $100,000.
Yeah, way over. Yeah.
Wow.
So today my role is to support her in that endeavor, and not only just support, but really embrace it, which I have. So because she's still teaching, she's a teacher, and still has a couple years left in her career there, and still building this other business. What I've done now that I'm capable of doing is I kind of I've taken over the home, and I care for the home and take care of all of those needs, so she doesn't have to think about it. And then on the business side, I basically do all of the operational stuff to support her, so she doesn't have to worry about that. So we've become a good team. And I actually, my life is really good right now. I have no complaints. I enjoy it. I love what I'm doing with her, and soon she's going to be retired from her career of teaching, and we're going to be able to embrace this journey together, even at a higher level. And this business side really spills into, sharing with others, and that's what we're all about. So my identity is basically, I'm loving supporting her, encouraging her, taking care of her, because she took care of me for such a long time. Now it's my turn.
So do you think in general we as men can hold ourselves back by identifying in measurable things or in job titles?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's something you have to be very intentional about. I think it's something you have to really be honest with yourself about. For me, the honesty came when I was flat on my back and I had to look at myself really hard, and I had to evaluate what was healthy in my life prior and what wasn't, and what changes I had the opportunity to make now. But yeah, I think that that's probably one of the biggest things as men that we battle is, this whole thing where we're wrapped up in what we do rather than who we really are as a man.
And do you feel that before your identity was more boxed in, and do you feel that now maybe your identity is more just completely open to possibilities?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's things are happening in my life now that I never would have expected. Wow. In a million years. I mean, just the people I'm meeting and the places I'm going and the things I get to experience. I mean, it's not, Vicki and I have kind of a little joke in our family. It's like nothing is normal in our life in terms of how the world measures normal. Nothing's normal. And it's a joke, but it's serious and we love it. There's nothing normal. I mean, and I love it because every day something's new, something's exciting, and there's a new opportunity. There's new people to meet, and it's really fun.
And as painful as the difficulty was, and the illness and the recovery was, do you feel that that was a necessary part of your journey to expand your thinking?
Wow, that's a really good question. Today, right now, I can say yes. But it took several years for me to get there. I was always the kind of guy that was pretty cautious about, the things in life that happen and why are they happening. I mean, I wasn't quick to say, well, it has to happen for this reason. I think we have, you kind of have to process that and be a little cautious as to just label everything that happens in our life and why it's happening. I think there's things that happen in our life that we may never know why they've happened. Mm-hmm. In my case, in this case, I honestly can tell you that had it not happened, we would not be where we're at today. Mm-hmm. It just wouldn't have happened because we had our normal life in the foothills, in our nice home, and with our lifestyle and our careers. And when all that went away, now everything is shifted. All of our values have changed. What's important to us then is no longer important to us today. So yeah, it definitely had to happen for me to get where I'm at today. I really believe that had I have not gone through what I went through and have a wife that loved me and cared for me and was committed to getting me healthy again, and a family that loved me and embraced me and pushed me to get better. I mean, there was days I didn't want to go to rehab. I hated it. I didn't want to go. It hurt. I didn't want to go. But at the time, my son, who was in high school, would drive me, and he'd just say, "Get in the car, Dad, or I'll carry you. You're going." That's commitment. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it had to happen. It had to happen. And part of me along the way always felt bad for the family, but now today I look at our family and, it's like everybody's benefiting from this.
Wow.
And they'll tell you that.
Wow.
So they all have their stories, and they all will tell you that it benefits, and all of them, because of our lifestyle changes, and they've seen the results, have now made lifestyle changes to be proactive and prevent, rather than wait till something happens to make the changes. So they're all living healthy right now. Wow. And it's fun to see, and it's good to be a part of.
What's your short, in a nutshell, word of advice for someone who might find themselves in the same dark place you were at a few years ago?
Be open. I mean, really, really be open to not... Be open to everything and anything that's not normal to you. Mm-hmm. because that's what's got me where I'm at today. And surround yourself with people, let people in, don't insulate yourself, let people in that you trust, and let them in to help you and to support you, and but just be open, because that was a hard thing for me. And I think I could have probably shaved a year or so off my process had I been more open. But I think that's the biggest thing. You know, when someone comes to you with some new ideas that don't seem normal, obviously, you know, you want to use some better judgment. You want to make sure that, you know, it's healthy. But I would have never been open to the holistic approach had my wife not come to me and said, "I've done some research, and I think we need to look into this." I would have never looked at it. But because I trusted her, and because I knew that she was diligent and working hard at trying to change where I was at, you know, I embraced it, and life-changing, obviously. And so, yeah, be open, surround yourself with good, positive people that you can trust, and let them speak into your lives, let them encourage you. Don't spend time trying to figure out why. Don't ask them, what have I done? What have I, do I deserve this? Don't waste time doing that. Spend your energy and your emotional energy on how can I get from where I'm at to where I want to be. And evaluate, am I broken or am I shattered? Because there's a difference on how you're going to approach life and how you're going to approach the next steps.
And if I'm understanding this correct, if it's broken and you're trying to fix it, you're just going back to fix it back to how it was.
Yes.
Shattered means you're supposed to create a completely new life and paradigm for yourself.
Brand new. Absolutely. Yep. Spot on.
Wow. How do you view the future now? What do you see coming for your wife, your kids, all the lives you're here to touch? What excites you?
Well, I'm excited, first of all, just to be healthy. And it's a process to continue to be healthy. And you know, from time to time, little setbacks come along, but I know how to manage them now. And we know how to be more aggressive with some of the things that we do and we use. So that helps. So obviously, you know, just to continue to improve my health on a daily basis. And then to share that with others so that others can learn from it and not get stuck.
Yeah.
And so that's huge. The whole sharing idea is something that's it's new for me. I'm not comfortable doing that. But I'm excited about doing it, and I'm doing it more kind of organically, you know, on the golf course, places like that, where the opportunity presents itself. So, yeah, as far as moving forward, I mean, I'm just excited to be around, to be Papa, you know, yeah, to just love the family and watch them grow. I mean, that's a huge blessing, especially with the size of family we have. There's a lot of fun stuff going on. And then I think financially, we have some really exciting financial goals. They're a lot more realistic than perhaps they used to be. But we plan on within a year, probably one more year, of buying a home again. We'll be in a situation where obviously there'll probably be a little bit of a loan, but paid off quickly, because we will never lose a home again because of finances. So that's exciting. Not that that's the most important thing in the world, but it will be fun to have a home again. You know, large enough to entertain the whole family. Something that we can enjoy and share with others. So that's exciting. And then just the ability now to be able to travel with Vicki and participate in the business aspect of Young Living. And it presents itself with a lot of travel opportunities, and we're excited about that. So I think those are some fun things. The one thing that kind of may be insignificant to others, and they'll go, "That's the stupidest thing I ever heard." But I remember one of my neurologists said, "Terry, what's the one thing you want to be able to do again?" And this was when I was really bad. I said, "I want to be able to golf again." And he's like, well, let's see if we can't get you there. And I'm golfing again, and that is a lot of fun. So, yeah.
Oh.
So it's good. So, I mean, those are some things that we're looking forward to. I can't wait for Vicki to retire. She's actually going to retire early because of the business side. She's going to get to retire early, and we're going to get to spend some time together and have a lot of fun helping others.
And not to jump around too much, but would you say that you and Vicki are healthier now than you were before this journey began 8 years ago?
Absolutely. We're so much stronger together. Yeah, because what I've realized is how blessed I really am. And how the strength that she has is just blowing me away.
Wow.
And so, yeah, we approach, when adversity comes, we approach it so much differently now. Instead of kind of getting on each other, it's like, because we're irritated by what may be ahead of us, it's kind of like, all right, so what do you think we should do with this? What do you think? You know, what are you getting? And we spend quiet time together. Some call it meditation, some call it quiet time, you know, because it's a good place for us to just get quiet and block out all of the stuff and just get something, hear something. Sometimes we hear from God, sometimes we just get an intuitional thought or something and we share it with each other, and that's powerful because it's helped us now just kind of look at what's ahead and how we're going to overcome. And, you know, if something comes our way, it's not that big of a deal. You know, it's kind of like we kind of went through the big deal, so now it's kind of like, yeah, that's a deal, but it's not that big of a deal, is it? You know, I think we can. And so just partnering, really embracing each other at a higher level and moving forward, encouraging one another, supporting one another. I mean, it's our relationship is way stronger, and then it was good to begin with, but now it's fun, it's solid, and we're having a good time together, and I can't wait for her to retire so we can go play together.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, last question for you, Terry. Is there a way people can reach out to you? Facebook or anything like that?
I mean, you can email me at terrylherman@gmail. A lot of people like to email me.
Okay.
And then I connect them other ways, you know. Sometimes it's a more private than other ways. So, yeah, they can terrylherman@gmail.com, and I'll respond. I get a lot of emails. And
okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Terry, I really appreciate you sharing your journey with us.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me. And, yeah, it's been fun. And hopefully it'll help someone out there. And if there's anything that we can do along the way, we want to be available. And so reach out, and we'll journey with you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining, and I pray that this has blessed you as much as it has blessed me to hear Terry and Vicki's journey. Until next time.